I hope everyone enjoyed that break. And before we get started with this panel, we are going to see what the teens said when our students asked them, what are some of the strangest things you've seen people do while driving? Video, please.
Oh, they were driving with their feet. They literally had their feet and they were like this and then they were driving. It was weird.
Texting, like playing games on their phone.
Makeup. No makeup in Japan. No.
One time I saw this girl smoking illegal substances while driving.
I actually saw an old man with a neck brace on smoking a wooden pipe at a red light, so that was pretty interesting.
Hit a parked car, I guess. Just, the car was parked, they were behind it, and they just went forward instead of going backwards, and they just destroyed the car. It wasn't good.
I've seen people with their dogs and they talking on the phone with their dogs just like on their laps and like out the door. I mean, that was pretty crazy.
Saw a woman going down the road and she had her cell phone in this hand, she had a cup of coffee in this hand, and I'm not sure how she was driving the steering wheel, but I suppose her knees probably were helping with that.
Strangest thing I saw somebody do on driving was do an endo on a motorcycle on a highway doing about 55. Endo's a front wheelie, so that's pretty about the strangest thing that I saw drive, aside from makeup while eating a hamburger.
One time, this guy, he was eating his Big Mac or something, and he was like swerving in and out. I think he might have had his knee up on like the steering wheel. It was like scary. I didn't know if he was going to like swerve into us or swerve into someone else or swerve into a like rail and kill himself.
The lady in front of us was getting ready for work. She had a curling iron. She had all her makeup bag out and pretty much doing everything but driving is what it seemed like.
Probably someone trying to put on their makeup while texting and driving.
There was a woman on a freeway in Tulsa, Oklahoma who was putting on eye makeup, did not have her hands on the actual wheel, and there was like millions of cars. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Shaving. I've seen someone shave their beard while they're going.
Someone dressed up in a carrot suit eating a thing of chicken.
I've seen someone take off their shirt and change clothes while they were driving before.
People eating while driving.
The strangest thing I've ever seen a person do while driving is fall asleep and hit me.
I have seen a woman putting on pantyhose while she was driving before.
Eating cereal.
Eat.
That's
Eat.
it. That's
Wow.
it. Put on makeup.
Okay, well, some of that was pretty strange. So now I think it's time to talk about how we can make a difference and have an impact in our hometowns. Marissa and I will start with this panel off and tell you about some of our experiences when we hosted our own summits just last year and the year before. Marissa?
Thank you, Josh. So, my name is Marissa Coonerth, and I'm from the great state of Minnesota, and I live in a small town called Fulda. So just keep that in mind with our community. Our total population of our community is about 1,000, and my high school, which is 7 through 12, is about 200 students. So we're pretty small. I am currently serving as the Minnesota Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America state president, and I'm also an active member of Business Professionals of America, or BPA. And I have been a 5-year distracted driving advocate. And I will be showing you my 3 summits that I've hosted. And this is also my 3rd year here at the Teen Distracted Driving Prevention Summit. So this is the first summit that I hosted, and I will just kind of show you what I did, varying from year to year, and the techniques that worked best for me. So this was my 9th grade summit, and I hosted it at my local high school and within my community. And I aimed at my school staff, the students, and other community members. So as you can see on your left, I was participant in the Act Out Loud toolkit, and I received that. And within that toolkit came an assortment of signs that you see, table tents, and other banners. So I set it as my first goal to identify my concerns and just raise awareness to let the community members know how dangerous texting and other distractions are while driving. And from there, I built off of it. And while also working with Act Out Loud, I took part in the billboard contest where I received the opportunity from NOYS to have a professional come to Fulda High School. And they took the photo shoot for our billboard. So the billboard is up in the top, and the students had a black piece of paper over their head. And this billboard was up in our community for 3 months, and we fundraised to get those expenses. So the black picture, that's my whole high school right there. Okay, and then also my 9th grade year, we partnered up with AAA, and they came in with a distracted driving simulator that you see in the bottom left-hand corner. And AAA members worked with the students firsthand, and we also had local police chief, firemen, and other community volunteers who felt willing to help us as they had a personal connection or felt strong about the topic. So they came in, and the students over their lunch period or one day a week would try out the simulator, and you could text, and we also had other sorts of distractions that you would throw in. Something that was really unique about this simulator is you could adjust it to the weather conditions, and the steering wheel would become really strong and unbearable to move, and it had sound effects. And then at the end, it would say if you went to court, what would happen, maybe some of the things that you didn't see, like running a cat over. So that was really interesting. I also did 2 different kinds of pledges that are on the top right, and then one's further on the left. The one on the top right, I had only adults or students with their license sign, just to see how many I would get from that. That was more of my target audience, but as the younger kids wanted to become involved and wanted to know what I was doing as a 9th grader, I pulled up another banner that we got donated from a local community that helped us. So that one on the left was just the younger kids who could not drive, and the one on the right was the older kids. I also talked to my school board to get their support and my city council, and we put up another distracted driving billboard. And then I've had numerous PSAs and interviews. So my first summit was just kind of laying the groundwork, raising awareness within my community, identifying the concern, and taking slow steps for others to realize this growing concern. This is my 10th grade summit, and this one I held in my 2-county area. So I grew from maybe just my local town, and it involved citizens of all ages. So I started when State Farm asked me to take part in their Celebrate My Drive campaign, and which Sue will be talking about later. And I didn't really know what that was about, but after I learned what it aimed for, it matched up with my goals. So that was really exciting. And this was at a local festival that our town had, which included different counties. So people would come together, and I would work firsthand with State Farm insurance agents. So they would teach me about this campaign, and I would teach others about the dangers of distracted driving. And it was really good because it was a partner for us, and yet we got to educate with them, gaining knowledge. On the top right, I ran for Miss Teen Nobles County, and I was crowned. And then I also ran for Miss Teen Minnesota, where I got 5th runner-up. But I received the opportunity to meet with my mayor and discuss the dangers of distracted driving and get his input. And he was very strong about this topic, so I also had him speak at our school, which was really great to see a local figure taking initiative and reaching out to the students. And then on the bottom right, are pictures of other PSAs and interviews that I've done. Since I do live in a small community, it is easy for me to just reach out to my local newspapers if we would like a billboard set up, because we're so close-knit and people are willing to help you since this is such a great cause. My 10th grade year, I also put on a mock crash. But what was kind of unique about my mock crash is that the students around the school knew that we were having a speaker that day, but they didn't know it was a mock crash. So we opened it up at noon during the school day, and we hosted 2 speakers, Will Craig, which the National Organization for Youth Safety helped us bring to our school, and then Justin Iberg, who was a local. And they spoke about their incidents with distracted driving, how it's changed them, and it was very impactful. And then we had a crash bomb happen outside of our gymnasium into our school parking lot, and the kids all ran outside not knowing what was happening, and they sat down on the bleachers that we had already had set up. And then they had to watch how their peers, our student actors, were going through texting and driving when the police came. They had the jaws of life. The firefighters were there. The Department of Transportation borrowed us the dummy suits that you see to help like walk around and share facts and stories. We also had the hearse there. We also had a mother there just displaying all the different kinds of aspects to get more of a feel for maybe what one individual may think compared to another of different genders or ages. We had a helicopter come in, and to follow up, I did PSAs and radio announcements, put it in the newspaper and others like that. But a very important aspect before I got started was I had to okay this plan with my city council. I had to okay it with my school board. And then I also reached out to the individuals within my community to see if you were willing to help support me or donate your time or money, and see if there was anything that you feel within our community that you could add to it. So it was very community-minded, which was great to see our small community pull together and pull off something this huge. For my 11th grade summit, as I am currently serving as a state officer for Minnesota FCCLA, I decided to host it at our state conference, but to raise awareness at my school to continue that motivation and to let them know a little bit more about distracted driving. As a reminder, each year we held an AT&T competitive competition between a neighboring school, and every day we would send a text message while we were in school to AT&T about the dangers, a fact that we would learn, a personal story, and then for every one of those texts that we sent in, AT&T would total it up. And then it was a competition between the two schools, and it was just kind of a school rivalry, and we won, which was good. And it was fun because we got to see what they would text about it, and same with them. And it was a great way to have that school rivalry, but it was also a good cause to advocate on. And here are pictures from Minnesota FCCLA State Conference. We started by having two different speakers. Reggie Shaw is one of them, and he spoke at the NOYS Summit last year. And he was a very motivational, inspirational speaker. And the partner that I came with, we knew that we had to have him at our state conference, and we were lucky through NOYS that we were able to. And we also had another girl, she's on the far right, and she was injured and is paralyzed from the waist down. And she was a local, so we like to have that balance between maybe the person affected and the person who maybe caused the crash, which was good to see. We had newspapers, broadcasters, we had pledges. I have done Act Out Loud for 3 years, so then Act Out Loud has given me the supplies and resources which I needed. And then we also followed up using social media to make others aware throughout our cause. So just to wrap it up, how I made my summit successful is I knew who my target audience was, and I would ask them, what do you think needs to be done in our community, and what's the best way of going about it? And the best way to ask the community is just to go out and personally talk to them, see what they have seen, see what they have heard in the past. I also hosted friendly competitions such as the AT&T pledge between the two schools. And the best strategies to get media attention is just to ask. I know that I live in a small community, but everyone is willing to help. And when you have a growing cause that affects everyone, people want to know about it, and people are willing to listen to you as the youth. And finally, NOYS is always available for resources that you may need. We are lucky to sit here today and have all of these resources and speakers that we have heard, but just know that after this conference, NOYS will be willing to reach out to you and help you if you may need speakers, just tips. So feel free to ask them. Thank you.
All right, if you can hear me clap once, if you can hear me clap twice, if you can hear me clap 7 times. Okay, so do you guys kind of hear at the end how that kind of dwindles off into raindrops? Like, just all of a sudden, like nobody's really clapping at the same time. So by the end, I promise that we'll work on that, and you guys will be the best clap listeners that are at this conference, or even in DC right now. So I promise by the end of this presentation, you'll learn that. And also one thing about when I present, I want you, every time I say get it, you guys say got it. Get it? There we go. All right. So I want to thank Marissa. Give her another round of applause for doing a great job with her summits. Okay. So if you guys didn't hear earlier, I'm Josh Sorby. I'm from South Dakota. I live in a town of 20,000 people, so a little bit bigger than Marissa's town. But also South Dakota State University is located in Brookings in my hometown. So we have about 32,000 residents. I'm a 2-year National Distracted Driving Advocate. I was here as a youth team last year with a member from my school, and this year I'm back as a peer mentor. I've hosted 2 summits in the past. I hosted one in April of last year, which was as a part of my youth team. And I actually just hosted mine 2 weeks ago. So I'll kind of talk to you guys about that one a little bit. It was really successful, kind of stressful leading up to this. And then I had a trip to DC a week ago, and now I'm back. But it's done and it went well. I'm the public relations officer for South Dakota FCCLA. So presenting like this and working with people is something I love to do. All right, so let's get to the good stuff. I want to kind of show you guys the current situation. I'm a strong believer in by assessing the current situation, you can then adapt your advocacy plan towards what would apply to you most. Currently, not going to sugarcoat it. South Dakota's last in driver safety. We are 50th out of 50 when it comes to teen driver safety for 2 main reasons. First, we can drive by ourselves at the age of 14. I drove myself to middle school by myself with braces and the funky haircut and everything. I drove myself to middle school by myself. And also, the texting while driving, the offense that we have in South Dakota is secondary. So you cannot be pulled over specifically for texting while driving. Rather, you have to be pulled over for instance, speeding or seatbelt usage, and then they can add on the fine of texting while driving. And as you can see, it's only a $100 fine, so it's there, but we like to see it more. I see a really strong correlation between the percentage of deadly accidents, which is the graph that you see on the left, and the fine, the imposed fine, which you see on the right. Essentially, the higher the fine, the lower the amount of deadly crashes. For instance, Wyoming has the highest percentage of deadly crashes and the second lowest fine. They have it's a $75 fine and a 36% deadly crash. Also, South Dakota's the 6th highest percentage of deadly crashes and the 4th lowest fine. The state that I'm most proud of is Utah. I don't think we had a team from Utah here, but that's okay. You guys can spread the word to Utah. They have the lowest percentage of deadly accidents because what I believe is the main cause is the $750 fine that they have to pay if they're seen even holding their phone in the car. So props to Utah. One thing I want to show you guys, if you guys have your notebooks or whatever, if you have to write something down, this is the sentence I want you to write down. By assessing the current situation, you can effectively advocate to the cause. You know the current problem and can then adapt your advocacy plan to fit your situation. You guys get it? Got it. All right, there you go. Okay. Let's move on to what I've done with distracted driving. Okay, so this is another thing I want you guys to write down. By advocating at multiple levels, you reach a wider audience and have a stronger influence. Marissa did that with her summits. You saw her 9th grade year. She hosted it locally. Her sophomore year, she hosted it across her district. And her junior year, she hosted it across her state. By doing that, she's reaching more people and having a different influence on each group. At the community level, I just decided to do all 3 levels this year, go big or go home. The community level, we did a docudrama, which is a simulated car crash that I'll be explaining a little bit later. I do press releases because I'm the public relations officer from South Dakota FCCLA. So that's something that I do a lot. I give press releases to radios, to newspapers, to television stations. That's something that I feel is really effective because then they, for instance, newspaper, they have it right there to look at, and they have tangible evidence of texting while driving right there. And also, we created a PSA video that we've shared on our Facebook page and our Twitter page and on YouTube, and that's gotten like over 1,000 views since the October 8th docudrama, which was 2 weeks ago. So we're pretty proud of that. On the state level, I'm giving a legislative address in January to legislators because I talked about how it's currently a secondary offense in South Dakota to text and drive. I am going out there to advocate for making it a primary offense and making it a stronger fine against texting while driving. And also, I've given multiple community presentations around my town to other towns that may not have the resources that I have at Brookings High School and through the National Organizations for Youth Safety. And personally, my favorite level to advocate for is the national level. I've presented 5 workshops in the past 2 years at national FCCLA meetings, reaching a total of over 2,000 FCCLA members in those short years. Also, this is my second time being at a NOYS summit, but it's my 5th time being in DC advocating for either distracted driving at the summit or indirectly. And also, I visited with my senators at Capitol Hill twice, and that was one of the main reasons that they pushed for distracted driving reform, not only on the national level, but also in South Dakota, because our secondary offense was just implemented this July, which was pretty awesome, not gonna lie. So the one thing I want you to write down is by advocating at multiple levels, you reach a wider audience and have a stronger influence. Second main point by Josh. Okay, get it? There we go. All right. So on to my favorite part of advocating is the docudrama. The docudrama is essentially a simulated car crash intended to persuade a targeted audience. It was hosted on October 8th, 2014 this year at my local high school parking lot. And essentially it's real life. That's one thing I strongly believe in. And what NOYS strongly believes in is how you need to make your advocacy programs to affect them directly and how they can see, wow, this can happen to me, because teenagers have that sense of invincibility that ultimately isn't true. So, that's okay. So makeup, one thing we did, we brought in the SDSU theater department, and they did bloody makeup all over the participants in the docudrama. It looks really real. You can see 2 of our officers in the bottom picture. That looks real. It's really creepy. I saw it close up, and to be honest, I didn't even want to look at them. It was really scary. Next thing is staging. We staged 2 donated cards to look like they'd crashed, and all the drivers had their cell phones like in their hands, and everyone was unconscious. That's one thing we did with the staging, because you'd always get those kids that'd be like, hey, I see you. But with having them unconscious, it makes it more impactful just because it's silent. Like, not one word was spoken at the docudrama, and I have over 1,000 kids in my high school, and nobody was talking. So it was really impactful. The audience was made up of students, all the 1,000 students in my high school, and the participants in the docudrama were 8 seniors or juniors from our high school in different social groups. By incorporating the different social groups, then you can reach those different social groups directly by having a quote-unquote representative from their group there to make it more personal to them. And also, one thing that was really strong was bringing the parents of the people who got in the crash. It saw like, wow, that just happened to my child. Like, how would the parents that are in this room feel right now if they were there, even though they knew it was simulated, but saw their child with bloody makeup on their face hanging out of a car window? Like, it was extremely impactful, and that was personally one of my favorite parts of the docudrama, was that specific right there. We also brought the fire rescue. They did the jaws of life on one of the cars. The police arrested the perpetrator who was texting while driving, and I'll get more into what happened with him later. And the EMT came and did CPR on the person and everything that died on site, and also did an emergency room scene. In the emergency room scene, they ultimately declared them dead, and we heard the flatline. And it was really impactful hearing that flatline on one of the students. And then we also hosted their own funeral, that was honestly the most impactful part of the docudrama, was the funeral. We had their school pictures all the way from kindergarten up to their senior year in high school lined up on the casket. So it was right there just showing how they went from the super young, happy 6-year-old finally going to kindergarten to their senior year, and it was really strong. And the parents were there looking over their child in the casket, which it puts a whole perspective on the thing that this can really happen to anyone. And finally, we sentenced the perpetrator. Our district attorney came and sentenced him to 10 years in prison, which is the current the current implication in South Dakota for texting while driving. And we also did a wrap up. Each of the victims specifically spoke, and I gave an address at the end about texting while driving. Okay, so the docudrama. Well, I'll go back. The docudrama. It's real life, and most importantly, it affected the people directly. That's one thing that you want to make sure that you have with your advocacy plans, is that it is able to relate with them specifically, and thus they're able to see that it can happen to them. Get it? There we go. Okay. It's getting a little tired in here, but we're going strong. Okay. Public relations. I love public relations. That's why I'm the public relations officer. I love public relations. One thing about public relations is that it is ultimately how you have an impact with your summit. It's how you reach the people that were not directly there. You can do anything from newspapers to PSAs on the radio to social media to posters. And if you go big or go home, do TV, do something strong. Like public relations, the more effort that you put into it, the more that you're going to get out of it, because the more people that you reach with your cause, the more lives that you're saving. Write that down. Quote by Josh. There you go. You guys get that? Okay. Last thing I want to talk about is legislative advocacy. You can see, this is like honestly one of my favorite parts of advocating, is doing the legislative advocacy, because this is how, by reaching to this different audience, you have a different purpose. By going to your legislatures and asking and lobbying for texting while driving reform, you can thus have a greater impact, and it's how your cause is enforced. So, last thing, Josh is going to get on his soapbox, and I'm going to empower you guys to host a really great summit when you guys get home. Think of JC. Think of Connor. Think of all the people that have had their lives taken away from them by distracted driving, and all the people that it's affected. If you've known someone if you've been affected by distracted driving, raise your hand in the audience. Look around. All these people have had their lives turned upside down by distracted driving. The ultimate thing that we need to focus on as youth is creating the stereotype that texting while driving is not okay. We need to see that we need to get it to the current stage where drinking and driving is at, and apply that to texting while driving. My goal personally is to reach 35,000 people directly this year through distracted driving. You guys might think that that's just a random number. That's the number of people that were killed by distracted driving this year. My second goal is to reach 421,000 people indirectly, which means by me talking to you and then you guys implementing your summits, I had an influence on those summits. So what would really help me out to help me keep track of whether I'm reaching my goal or not is to use my Twitter handle at JoshCSorby, or email me at josh.sorby@gmail.com about your summits. I want to hear from you, and NOYS wants to hear from you as well. By doing a summit, by being here, you have a huge opportunity to make a difference, and I encourage all of you to take full advantage of it. I want to thank Julie for putting on an amazing summit, and all the NOYS staff. We can give a big hand for her. I want to thank my fellow peer mentors and the fellow youth teams for coming to the summit and taking the initiative to act. And finally, I want to thank my parents for sending me, and my brothers for always being there for me. Thank you. Next up is Tristan Nunez. Tristan is an 18-year-old professional race car driver who competes in the Tudor United Sports Car Championship Series as a Mazda factory driver for Speed Source. Tristan became the youngest class winner in Grand Am and American Le Mans Series victory history in 2013 and became the youngest sports car champion in 2012 when he captured the Cooper Tires prototype lights powered by Mazda Series championship. Born to a now retired professional tennis player, Tristan ventured from the family business and began his racing career at the age of 11. He advanced his career with multiple karting championships, was named the 2010 Rookie of the Year in the Skip Barber Southern Series, and won the Skip Barber Summer Series overall points championship. He also won the 2012 Team USA scholarship, going on to win the Walter Hayes Trophy at Silverstone. Was named by Sports Illustrated as the face in the crowd. Tristan is from Florida and stays active on and off the racetrack as a face of his Don't Text and Drive Foundation, where he serves as an advocate to spread the word on the dangers of distracted driving. Please join me in welcoming Tristan.
Oh, dropped it. Hey everyone, I'm Tristan. I have 2 videos to start. One is a commercial that I was in that is nationally aired. It should be on the Fox Sports or Fox Network. The second one is a PSA that I take to all my high schools. So enjoy.
I'm a race car driver, so I race with professionals. But when I'm on the street, I never know who's driving next to me. When you add in unnecessary distractions, that's a recipe for disaster. The fact is, the average text takes 5 seconds. So when you're going 55, you're basically driving the length of a football field with your eyes closed. That's 100 yards of not knowing what's ahead of you. That's a scary thought. Whether you're on the track or on the road, you need to be 100% focused. After all, there are too many people that care about us. Our families, our friends, our teammates. Life is precious. So why jeopardize that by checking your phone when you hear a text? Don't worry, it'll still be there.
I'm Mazda race driver Tristan Nunez, and that's why I don't text and drive.
Hi, I'm Tristan Nunez. I'm 18 years old and a professional race car driver. Because of my unique occupation, I'm able to spread the word all across the country about the dangers of distracted driving. This message comes from me wherever I go because it's something I'm really passionate about. I've even created bracelets and air fresheners that serve as a constant reminder not to text and drive. To be honest with you, I actually feel safer driving on the racetrack than I do driving on the streets. On the racetrack, we're all going in the same direction and about the same speed. All the drivers are skilled and 100% focused on racing. On the streets, it's a different story. Everyone is going in different directions, different speeds, and almost everyone is driving distracted. They are either eating, talking on their phones, or even worse, they are texting and driving. Drivers that text and drive are 20 times more likely to get in a collision than drivers that don't text and drive. So team up with me in this race to end the #1 killer of teens, car crashes. Maz and I have teamed up with Project Yellow Light, and you can join in as well. All you have to do is create a 1-minute video that either motivates, persuades, or encourages your peers not to drive distracted. The grand prize is a $5,000 scholarship. Go to projectyellowlight.com for more information. Save lives. Don't text and drive. So those are the ways I've kind of reached out to the media and have spread the word that way. But just brushing up on my my introduction. Great job, Josh, by the way. I started racing at age 11, but even before that, I was a tennis player. It's in my family's blood. My dad's a tennis coach. but I just never really had the passion for tennis. And when I first got into go-kart, I really found out what passion is. I wanted to do it for the rest of my life, and I have the same passion for my Don't Text and Drive campaign. I like to start all my high school presentations off with a raise of hands, and everyone who has seen their parents text and drive, raise your hand, or adults who've texted and drove or distracted in the past. Yeah. So that's the whole reason that this whole thing got started. My own mother, sitting right over there, please stand up, Mom. The one that I looked up to, right from wrong, she was the one that almost killed us in an accident. Yeah, it's true. I was 15 years old. I was sitting passenger with her. It was just an average day, and then all of a sudden she picked up her phone, looking at emails, and then didn't see the guy in front and swerved out of the way. Luckily, we didn't hit him, but it was a close enough call to really scare us enough to stop it in our family and make a change. So what we did is that year, we put the Don't Text and Drive logo on the side of my race car and went all across the country with that on my car, spreading the word at each track we went to. And we also started going to high schools to speak. And at the high schools, there's one video that we show that really hits home, and that's the AT&T video, The Last Text. Now, the message that it shows is that, yes, texting and driving kills, but also texting someone you know is driving is just as bad. You have to live with that for the rest of your life if you kill somebody. Huge hats off to AT&T for creating that video, and you can find that video on their website or the It Can Wait campaign. So I urge all of you, when you do your summits, to look into that video and show it, because it is really powerful. It really does hit home. Towards the end of the presentations, I always like to give the kids or the students something to go home with, not just a mental message, but something physical to take home. So the first one is a little magnet that I put on the back of the cars. I know ever since we made these up, I've gotten a comment about it every day. It's a little bold, but sometimes you got to be bold to get everybody's attention. The next is an air freshener that, if I can get this open, you can hang on the, if it works. Also, just a constant reminder, and then bracelets, and last but not least, these hero cards that we give out to all the students. And what it has is pretty much my tips that I use every day, and some fast facts and links to the website and all that. The tips that I use every day, my mom uses use a designated texter if you're in the car with somebody. Personally, I don't like that one because my friends are a little immature and they will go through my phone on my Instagram and have a little fun with that. But my favorite one is just simply turn off the phone, chuck it in the back seat or in your glove box. I mean, it's the easiest one, and you don't have to worry about it. There's too much stress to hear the phone dinging and having to look down at it. It's just, it's a snowball effect. Even though you have it in the back of your mind, you're not going to text and drive, but you look at your phone, and if it's somebody important, your girlfriend, your mom, well, maybe not my mom, I can wait for that one. But, your best friend, you're tempted to look and see what they say, and especially if it's multiple messages. So it's just a snowball effect that without even thinking about it, then you pick up your phone and you start texting and driving. So, these are just messages that during your summits you can really push forward. Also, when I end the presentations, I have a pledge for every school. And this is on my website, or on my website, not on my website, but my Twitter page and my Facebook page. The Twitter handle is @TristanNunez, and my Facebook page is Tristan Nunez Racing. And pretty much what it is it's the next step. It's an actual written out thing that they have to write out and say, I pledge not to text and drive. So I urge all of you to please go to the Facebook or Twitter page and sign the pledge yourself and take the next step into not texting and driving. And recently, this year, actually just last month, released my foundation. Something we've been working towards for about 3 years now, and we finally released it. It's just another way to further my efforts in the cause and to provide grant money and scholarship money to students like you and your schools that are advocates in spreading the word. So you have applications in your binder, and those of you who are watching, you can go to the website and find the application yourself, just to sign in and get some funding for your future summits and spreading the word. So I'm going to keep it short, but I just want to give a big thanks to NOYS for having me as a peer mentor. I've learned a lot. I'm going to bring a lot of these tips back to my home and use them in my presentations from now on. And save lives, don't text and drive. Let's do this together. I can't do it by myself. We all have to work together. And it's been a great experience meeting all of you. And let's get this done. If I can get, sorry.
Thanks, Tristan. Let's give him another round of applause. It's exciting for us to see how you use your platform to raise awareness for safe teen driving and see how many teens you are able to reach through your driving career. We are honored to have an inspirational leader from State Farm, Sue Sampson, here with us today. Ms. Sampson began her State Farm career handling auto property damage and injury claims. Currently a project manager for the Celebrate My Drive Teen Driver Signature Program, she is responsible for partnerships, high school engagement, and grant funding. She has held a variety of positions at State Farm over her 20-year career. Her experience includes leadership, community, media, legislative relations, with emphasis on highway and auto safety efforts. Please join me in welcoming Sue Sampson.
Wow. Fellow presenters, sorry for you. I get to be on the best panel of the day. All three celebrities. And I'm going to practice something that I learned while I'm here with NOYS at this incredible event. Join me in doing a power clap. First of all, for Marissa's amazing hair on 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh my gosh, I so want that hair. No, that was just to be funny. But seriously, to Marissa and Josh, what amazing examples of what you can do when you go back to your communities, all the incredible things that you can do, great examples. So power clap on 3. 1, 2, 3. And Tristan, wow, what an incredible ride you've had. And thanks so much for all the things that you're doing to help save lives. So power clap for Tristan. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Well, our mission at State Farm is to help people manage the risks of everyday life, recover from the unexpected, and realize their dreams. And we do this by, spending time with individuals and families to help understand what are their insurance needs. What life situations and events do they have going on that might cause their insurance needs to change? And not only do we provide insurance products, we are also a bank and provide financial services products, just the same as you would find at any bricks and mortar bank in your town. And those things go very closely together, financial issues and insurance needs. So it's a really great pairing and allows us to provide really great customer service. And I want you to know that we're the leading insurer of automobiles across the United States. What that means is, because of the mass of customers that we have and the claim data that we collect as a result of our customers, because we have such a huge market share, you can imagine that the majority of the crashes that are happening involve a State Farm customer. Good, but not so good. I mean, we have all that great business, but on the flip side, we're spending a lot of money to fix these situations. And unfortunately, with the teen crashes that tend to be more severe and involved, cost a lot more money to recover. Oftentimes, you've heard throughout the day the statistics and the data, they cost more money because there's often severe injuries or fatalities. So unfortunately, State Farm knows a lot about what happens in these motor vehicle crashes. But we find it to be our duty to be a responsible corporate citizen to share the trends and information that we discover, to help people understand where are the problems, what things do people seem to be getting wrong, how can we educate the general public, not just those State Farm customers, but everyone. How can we teach people how to not have these things happen? So we have a wide array of programs and information to help people, but highway safety is something that's very important to us. Automobile insurance is the core of our business, so we spend and invest a lot of our resources on auto crash prevention. We have a team of researchers at State Farm who look at the claim data and information, the experiences of our customers, and then determine, okay, what research do we need to invest in? We've had partnerships with the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and other major research institutions to share information and data, but we've also developed programs and information to share with parents and drivers who are learning that are science and research based. So on our website, there's a couple of interactive tools that you can find. One's called Road Aware. The other one is called Road Trips. These are both, again, things that are free for you to utilize. These are, resources you can tap into. There might be some nugget of information within one of those two programs that you could pull in and utilize during your summits. State Farm believes wholeheartedly in the power of youth. Youth are now, not just the future, you are the right now. We know that you hold answers to a lot of the issues that we're facing in society today, including this one. I have had such a great time meeting all of you and hearing about the wonderful ideas that you have for the summits that you're about to execute at home. One of the State Farm examples that truly demonstrates our commitment to youth leadership is called the State Farm Youth Advisory Board. It's a board of directors that operates at State Farm that is comprised of 30 17 to 20-year-olds. So some of those are still in high school, some are in their early years of college. And this youth advisory board operates as any other board of directors within the State Farm Corporation. And they are entrusted with $5 million of our grant budget annually to invest in service learning programs throughout the United States and Canada. We've learned a lot from our youth advisory board over the years. One of the most important things we have learned as adults is to shut up, back off, and let us do our work. And we have found them to be the most incredible fiscal agents of our $5 million a year. They execute a program beautifully, making all of the decisions, determining all of the outcomes, monitoring and measuring their progress, and they're like Josh. They love PR. They love to share information, tell stories about how the grants are influencing communities. And again, we just continue to learn from them from year to year. So that's an opportunity that's available by application. There's some amazing people sitting right here in this room. I urge all of you to learn more about the State Farm Youth Advisory Board and consider whether that's something you might be interested in applying for. The grant opportunity will come around in February. But again, just a really amazing example of how much State Farm believes in the power of youth and that youth really have answers and can do tremendous things. The second example I'd like to share with you, and many of you have heard a little bit about this in your time here this weekend, and you've been carrying those really sharp Celebrate My Drive cinch sacks around with you. I have a really wonderful photograph of the group sporting your 2 and 2 t-shirts and your actions at the tour the other evening. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. I love the picture. But Celebrate My Drive is a different approach in that it is celebrating this amazing milestone of getting your license, a really important time in your lives, and that freedom that comes along with it. but at the same time shining a spotlight on the responsibility that you have behind the driver's seat. Our philosophy is to share, not scare. So we look for opportunities to share information, encourage change, but celebrate getting there safely. Celebrate wearing your seatbelt. Celebrate remaining focused. And we've seen incredible examples of teens executing Celebrate My Drive in their high schools, coming up with rap songs, posting YouTube videos, writing PSAs, some of which we couldn't have paid for a better State Farm commercial because they're so powerful and they're coming from the heart of these youth who, this is really about you guys. And what's so exciting this year for Celebrate My Drive, this is just our third year. We have over 3,000 high schools registered and participating with us. And as of today, I just checked a short while ago, we have about 2.25 million online safe driving commitments for this year alone, happening during Teen Driver Safety Week. So very, very excited about that accomplishment. Next, coming up this week, October the 22nd, is 2 and 2 Day. So you can tweet that out and use that while you're back at school. A special day just to recognize 2 eyes on the road, 2 hands on the wheel. So again, that's on Thursday. And we're continuing to spread the word by using youth influence. We have some social influencers. Do any of you follow Jimmy Wong by chance? Do you know who he is? He's a vlogger. He just made this really incredible song using sounds from a vehicle. So it's the door closing, it's the ignition starting. It is so much fun. If you do nothing when you leave here, I know you're going to do a lot, okay, when you leave here. But I mean, today, go back to your rooms and find Jimmy Wong and this car song. You will absolutely love it. And it's a celebratory, fun thing and something that you can share. There's also a couple other young social influencers, Strawberry 17 and Catrific. If any of you have heard of them or follow them, they have some really great informational videos that are teen driver related. Those are cool things that you could also use. And finally, I want to encourage you all, you've heard me say this to you individually and in groups, please consider how State Farm can help you at the local level. State Farm agents are everywhere. You know those golden arches that you see no matter where you go? State Farm has more agents than there are McDonald's in this country. So that tells you a little bit about how many State Farm agents there are. So please reach out to them, establish a relationship with them, invite them to participate with your events and support you in some way. And, I just finally want to congratulate NOYS on a fabulous event. I've had an incredible time. So to the planning crew and everybody that had a part in putting this together, all the youth who were part of planning this event, great job to you. I look forward to maintaining friendships with so many of you in the room over the years ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sampson. We all love education through contests. We're all pretty competitive. State Farm is doing great work to combat the issue of distracted driving and help make our roads safer. We'd like to take a moment and personally thank you again for your support of NOYS and for this summit. We have time for a few questions from our audience. It looks like Katie and Patrick will be in the audience passing the mic. Please raise your hand if you have any questions for me, Marissa, Tristan, or Sue.
Hello. I really like the crash, whatever that was again.
The docudrama?
Yes, that's really cool. How do you get those cars? Who did you contact to get cars that are already crashed?
We contacted our local junkyard just because they don't really know it.
And they bring the cars to, they do all of that and they donated that to bring it there and then you just provide everything else.
Yeah, usually otherwise they just scrap them. So they figure that doing it towards an advocacy type of cause was beneficial.
Okay, that's great. That's very powerful, the one you did.
or your local AAA. Yep.
Hi, in our previous panel, they mentioned how laws vary from state to state. And I think all of you guys can answer this question, but what do you think should be the correct amount of time for a teen to start driving with other passengers?
So what's really important for you to do is check the graduated driver license law in your state. There are some model laws out there that are really wonderful and have all the important elements that researchers and a lot of academics have recommended. It's important for parents to know and understand this as well, because as the learner gains experience, they have, the opportunity to drive at night or add additional passengers. So those restrictions for new drivers early on are there for a reason, and it's because those are the things that teens have the most trouble with, driving at night, loading up passengers. So, know and understand the GDL law in your state. And GHSA is a great resource. There's also some folks at the exhibit areas that have maps to show you. There's a color coding if your state is green, red, or yellow based on the scale, and then what could be improved in your state. So that's something you could help to advocate for.
My question's for Tristan. How do you advocate amongst your other race car drivers for texting and driving?
That's a great question. Actually, all the drivers in our series, at least, and I know it's the same with many other series, they stand the same ground as I do. The general idea that the general public have is that we go out there, we race, and then we come home, and then we get in our streetcars and go race some more. But that's not the truth. That's not what we're trying to get out there. We're safe drivers. We do what we do on the track, and then we exercise safe driving because we know what it takes to drive a race car. We know how much focus it takes to drive behind the wheel of a race car, and it takes just as much focus, if not more, to drive a street car. So all drivers, like myself, are great advocates in the cause as well.
That's all the time we have right now for questions. Thank you.
Please thank me in joining my fellow panelists for their distracted driving prevention efforts.